Well, first, we're joined by architect turned relationship builder, also known as the Freedom Finder for parents, Jacqueline Richards, to look at why we need to ditch the term ex-partner and why we should consider using co-parent instead to create a healthier environment for our separated families. Good morning, Jacqueline. Nice to see you.
Hi, it's lovely to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your background, as you haven't always been blowing up the internet with parenting advice.
No, I certainly haven't. And my background is that my transition into parenting was far from smooth. And the way that I liken it is it was a bit like a car crash where I could kind of see the debris of my former life all around me. And essentially everything that I'd been squashing down and ignoring for years came up and said, hiya, and I was hospitalised for 3 months in a mother and baby unit in the UK, which is where I was living, with severe postnatal depression and anxiety. And that wasn't what I signed up for. So everything that I thought wouldn't happen to me did. And that was the postnatal depression, my relationship separating, the fact that I didn't fancy my job anymore, which I'd spent a lot of time and money on and come out with first class honours in. And life as a parent wasn't the way that I thought it was going to be. You know, it wasn't the picture that I'd painted for myself. It was a bit of a shock.
And the career and work life that you had before coming to this realisation and having this big crash, was that you're an architect, right?
I was an architect. I was a corporate architect, and I was working in the biggest practice in the world, right in the middle of Oxford Circus in London. So yeah, it was a bit of a transition coming from that into the world of a newborn baby. And I say it was one hell of a journey, because I had a very rational and logical way of looking at the world, very ordered and controlled. And then I had this newborn baby to as part of my new journey.
And there goes all of that control. What do you mean by Freedom Finder for parents? Why do you call yourself that?
Well, it was essentially because I didn't have any. As soon as I became a mother, I really changed, and I had no idea who I was anymore. You know, after coming from that very ordered, very rational, logical control, I had no idea who I was anymore, and I also had no idea why. So I really wanted to find freedom for myself, and now I can offer it to others. So freedom for me is not feeling trapped in that role of being a mother, you know, being able to put other hats on, which I used to wear before I became a parent.
There's also language that we use in lots of these situations, including calling maybe your separated partner your ex-partner, or the father of my children, or the mother of my children. You want us to use a new language and call each other co-parents. Why is language so important, do you think?
Yeah, well, there are no ex-partners in parenting. And
True.
this is the thing, right? And sometimes in the past, before you have kids, you can kind of, press F10 delete as if that one didn't exist. And when there's kids involved, you can't do that. And it's not so easy. And unless there are more extreme circumstances, which of course do happen, the other parent is going to be in your child's lives for the rest of yours. So language is really, really important here.
It's so obvious to me now. Of course, they are co-parents. But when you put this concept online, what was the response?
Yeah, it was phenomenal, actually. I got hundreds of comments and lots of reactions. Not all of them were positive, and that just points to the need to, have a look in this area. So what I got was that I'd hit the nail on the head, because there are so many couples out there who are separating without really understanding what's happened. And they're often stuck in this cycle of blame or resentment without any awareness of what I love to call the 5 parent traps.
Okay, tell us about those 5 parent traps, and maybe if you think that there are ways for us not to fall into the same trap that you and your ex or co-parent fell into, that could help keep these relationships together. We had some disturbing statistics recently that post-lockdown we're having something like 1 in 4 couples with children are splitting.
Yeah. There's definitely ways. And I mean, the way that I love to empower parents is to give them awareness and increase their knowledge and understanding of what these 5 parent traps are. And I playfully language them that way, because as soon as we can find humor and lightness and laughter in it, we can actually make moves forward, and that can be the platform to change. So the two, I'll let you know 2 of the traps. The first one is the we parent from the past trap. And this is a massive one, because this speaks to the cycles of conditioning that we're all part of, and when I say to parents, when we become parents, we turn into our parents. And a lot of people say, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, when your mother's words fall out of your mouth, or your dad's way becomes your way, you're stuck in the trap. And I also have some parents who say, well, but I'm nothing like my dad, and then I'm like, that's because you're reacting to him. So it's same trap, different version. And the other version of the trap, which is really the other parent trap that I wanted to mention, which is really tripping up a lot of parents at the moment, I like to call the we put our kids first trap, where we put our kids' needs, or the needs of everything around us outside of ourselves, in front of our own needs, so that we end up depleted and exhausted and just totally knackered. And we also end up drifting apart from our partners because the kids are in the middle. The kids are, their needs are being put first. So those are traps that really, really trip us up in our lives as parents.
Well, you're speaking wonderful language, and it's great to have you to remind us to do these things or not do these things in some cases. If it's not the case, and parents do split, or they've been apart for a while and they haven't been able to reconcile, is there still an opportunity to gain the sort of relationship that you have now? And if so, how? And maybe start by telling us what sort of relationship you have with your co-parent.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a beautiful, supportive relationship, and it wasn't always that way. And you absolutely can do an incredible amount, even from one side, to shift the energy, was what I call it, in the relationship, shift the dynamic, the feeling of the relationship. And the first one that I would say is have a look at your parenting, because we parent from the past. All the information is there. It just comes through in these unconscious behaviors that we all fall into. When we become parents, we turn into our parents, and it's almost like we're a different person to the one that our partner married, and vice versa. And it's like, my God, I don't even know you anymore. And it's true. So that's the first part, but also owning your own part in the challenges. Now, I was so busy blaming, finger pointing at my husband for everything that was wrong in our relationship. And I never kind of went like that and brought the finger inwards, because the behavior was all unconscious, meaning I couldn't see it until I could. And that's where the humor comes in, the lightness, because if we're all in these traps, we can use what I call the face slap. And it's like, oh my God, I've so been in the we parent from the past trap. And, and we can call each other on it, even in our relationship. Oh, babe, you're so in the trap. But the other thing that I really wanted to put in here for the couples that have separated is one of the best things that I ever started doing and share with the parents that I work with is to upsell the other parent. Yeah, build them up in front of your children, even if you struggle with them, even if they drive you crazy, because your child loves them, even if you don't. Yeah. Even if you've fallen out of love, you can still choose to be loving, which honors and confirms the love that your child has for them, and rather than making them feel wrong for it. And I think that is a huge part of this, where we can begin to have compassion by simply choosing to be loving, which acknowledges all of these differences, these limitations that we all have when we're in these traps, because we're simply doing the best that we can with the tools that we have. And some of us have way less tools because of the way that we were parented, right?
Absolutely. That's such great advice. Thank you so much for all you're doing, Jacqueline, and for your time on the cafe this morning.
Awesome. Lovely to be here.
And you can find out more about Jacqueline's Freedom Finding for Parents at yourparentjourney.com.